Hello my dear friends, you're on the Military Summary channel. In this short video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous night of the local time. And first we're going to start with Avdiivka direction. Today we have some updates, so let's discuss them. And first let's take a look at the northern flank of Krasnogorovka area. The Russians published a video how they were bombing and attacking the Ukrainian trenches and fortifications that was located below the railways. On this video we can see the Ukrainian soldiers who were trying to hide in this area, but the Russians attacked them with FPV drones, with mortar systems, with artillery strikes. And this is a very interesting area because yesterday, if you remember, we discussed that a little bit to the north, like few hundred meters to the north, the Russians managed to cross the railways and to attack the Ukrainian positions, basically on the Ukrainian side of the railways with armored vehicles. So as I understand, this is not, let's say, a fresh video that an event took place not yesterday, maybe this event took place the day before yesterday, basically before the Russian attack. And as I understand, and according to this video, you're gonna see that Ukrainians, under very heavy fire and very heavy pressure, took a decision to step back and they basically withdraw their positions and run away as far as possible. So this area is in the gray zone. The Ukrainians from these fortifications and these trenches took a decision to step back in this direction, and according to the video, at the final seconds of the video, we saw that Ukrainians established control over this territory. So the positions along the railways were abandoned by the Ukrainians. And I'll remind you that yesterday the Russians were attacking in this area. So as I understand, these two events are connected and have the common base. On this video we can see the Russian convoy with significant number of armored vehicles heading on the north of the previous video, trying to penetrate the Ukrainian defense belt and to establish foothold in this area. And as we discussed, the main purpose of that attack was to force the Ukrainian artillery system to move further to the north. One more time, if we increase the numbers of updates since the beginning of 10th of October, we're gonna see that that was not the only attack against that trenches and fortifications. On the 13th of October, the Russians already published the video how they were bombing the same trenches. So that was the main defense belts of the Ukrainians in this area, and currently 100% sure information that the Ukrainians left that defense belt, and basically there are no problems for the Russians to capture this territory. As I understand, this is exactly what the Russians are going to do today, or maybe they have already done this. When talking about Avdiivka itself, we haven't received, let's say, about the chemical plant Kherson Stepovo on this central flank of northern area. We haven't received nothing during the previous night. I'm talking about the Russian progress. The Russians managed to establish control over a significant line of trenches and fortifications, and currently the Russians are trying to dig in deeper in this area to prepare defense belt, to secure the area, and to prepare themselves before the next waves of attacks in direction of Stepovo and Berdiche, and even in direction of chemical plant. The Ukrainians during the previous night, after the world saw the video of Russian flag above Avdiivka Kherson, took a lot of attempts to shut down the Russian flags using the FPV drones. On this video we can see how the Ukrainians use FPV drone to shut down the Russian flank, but something went wrong, and as a result at least of that attack, geolocated attack, the Russians lost just the flag of 114th Brigade, the brigade that established control over this territory, but the main Russian flag was on its place. So the Ukrainians couldn't shut down even a flag during the previous night. During the previous night, Russians continued bombing and attacking Avdiivka with multi-launch rocket systems, with guided bombs, with artillery rounds. So the settlement, this fortification, is still under very heavy fire and pressure from the Russian side. Obviously, if not today, then tomorrow we're going to see more attempts of the Russian forces to advance in this area. Furthermore, the sources are saying that the Russians, as a result of clashes during the previous days, managed to develop their positions to the west of Pervomaysk, on the northern part of this small village. This information is confirmed at least by the Deep State map, and the Syriac map. So this update is confirmed by these two sources. And that's it about Avdiivka. more interesting updates and details are coming from South Zaporozhye area. The Ukrainians during the previous day tried to attack the Russian positions, tried to develop the foothold on the western part of Robotyne. For those purposes, the Ukrainians used significant number of armored vehicles, different types, strikers, Bradleys, and furthermore, the Ukrainians also used Leopard tanks, and the Ukrainians tried to maintain their positions and to capture the Russian trenches, the Russian fortifications that located on this line. But the problem was that Ukrainians lost significant number of tanks, and the main reason of that is that the Russians started using the distance mining method one more time. The Russians currently try to mine every single square meter in the vicinity of Robotyne, trying to slow down the movements of the Ukrainian forces. So yesterday the Ukrainians attacked this territory, and this morning with a significant number of tanks, and the Russian FPV squad Babry controlled the situation. For example, on this video we can see how the Russian FPV drone attacked the Ukrainian Leopard tank, and as a result of that strike, of that attack, the Ukrainians lost the western tank. So that was also, this is very unexpected case, because we know the cost and the price of the Russian FPV drone, less than $1,000, and we know the price of Ukrainian Leopard tank. On this video we can see the moment of the strike, and just a second, that was the moment of the strike. This is it, and a few seconds later the tank was burned and damaged, and then there was a fire and the tank was destroyed. That wasn't the only tank that was destroyed by the Russians. A few more tanks were destroyed along the forest line, tree line. The Ukrainians managed to get the fire positions to maintain the gray zone, and they were attacking from this area, from this distant Russian defense belt, but FPV drone strike attacked this Leopard behind in the ammo section, and that Leopard also was destroyed. From the northern direction, the Ukrainians were using light armored vehicles like Bradleys in strike, and the same story. As a result of FPV drone strike, a few more Bradleys and armored vehicles were destroyed on this direction. So basically the Ukrainian attack was repelled and the Ukrainians were defeated. Some of Ukrainian armored vehicles were destroyed in the village Robotyne. And the Ukrainians, of course, started their first phase of operation from the village, but some number of tanks were destroyed even here. So the attack, as a result of that attack, the Russians lost up to 3 FPV drones, and the Ukrainians lost a little bit less than 10 armored vehicles, as a result of artillery fire, as a result of FPV drone strikes, as a result of anti-tank missiles. And during the day, the Russians were bombing and attacking the Robotyne itself with tall flamethrower systems. So that was a very nice operation implemented by the Russian military forces. They did everything for 100%, and the Ukrainians couldn't achieve nothing as a result of that attack. Furthermore, the sources are saying about some clashes in Verbova area, but without any proofs and any changes on the ground. When talking about Kherson direction, the Russians continue bombing and attacking the Ukrainian forces in the villages like Kazatske. The Russians are using 500s for those purposes. The reason is this was the same, to not to prevent the concentration of Ukrainian forces and not to allow them to collect the critical mass for further forcing or crossing the Dnieper River operation. Very interesting videos we got from the Russian bank of the river, of Dnieper River, and from the Ukrainian one. On this video we can see how the Russians were bombing the Ukrainian forces using FABs, let's say in this area, and we're using this geolocation to adjust the front line, the combat line. As I understand, the Ukrainians have control over a lot of islands and very big territories on this area. And another interesting video we got from the north of Kherson Dniepriane. On this video we can see a opposite picture. The Ukrainians discovered the Russian reconnaissance team in the islands, and as a result of our FPV drones and bombardments, the Ukrainians tried to force the Russians to step back and to destroy their fortifications. So not the entire islands between Mykolaiivka, Burgunka, Lvova, and Khersunka, Dniepriane are under Ukrainian control. Some of these territories are under Russian controls, and currently there are very heavy clashes exactly for these islands. So this is going to be the battle for these islands, and until the Ukrainians clear this territory, there are no chances to continue any landing operation on the Russian Russian bank of the river. When talking about Kupiansk, Liman, Artyomovsk direction, we have some updates. From Kupiansk, Liman we have nothing. And when talking about Avdiivka direction, according to information we have, the Russians, as we discussed yesterday, they launched some offensive operation in the vicinity of Ivanovska, and today we got details that the Russians attacked in direction of Khromovo, and as a result of that operation, the Russians managed to maintain some positions, some gray zone, and to get to outskirts of this village. And probably soon we're going to see more attempts of the Russian forces to attack in this area, and they will try to clear this territory and to force the Ukrainians to step back from the city by the name of Artyomovsk. And that's it for today. Military Summary channel reminds to condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.